Shalom, giving all praises, honor and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash, double honors unto the elders and apostles of great master that rule well. And a sincere shalom to the 144,000 men of the elect. The 144,000 represents 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. That's who we do these lessons for primarily, the hopeful elect. As always, I start my videos by saying that we are the real Hebrew Israelites, and the real Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, West Indians, West Africans predominantly. But you will find Israelites that do look like the other nations, because we've been scattered among all the nations to our various captivities. But if your seed line by your forefathers goes back to the man in the Bible that was named Israel, then you too are an Israelite, no matter what you may look like, because Numbers 1 and the 18th verse tells you that your nationality is determined by the lineage of your forefathers. So this, I might call this lesson Cautionary Tale for You Women number 2. I didn't go out of my way to find these stories, but the most I put them in front of me. I just done a video going into a woman who was killed along with a 9-month baby in a two-hit hit from the Most High. When I say a 2-hit, meaning 2 strikes, hit as in assassination, hitman, from the Most High. The Most High killed 2 birds, 1 stone. Now, this is Cautionary Tale number 2 for you women. It says, if I can say this correctly, Ekaterina Fedorovna, if I'm saying that correctly, was in horrific pain and suffered convulsions for 2 days before falling into a coma. A horror medical blunder sees woman die as she is embalmed alive after surgery. Right, so Ekaterina Fedorovna, if I'm saying that correctly, forgive me if I'm not, was mistakenly poisoned during surgery after being administered a formalin drip which contains formaldehyde, the substance used to preserve corpses. Now, this might seem like a mistake, but it wasn't a mistake. This woman got taken out by the Most High for whatever reason. The Most High had her go out in that terrifying manner. Let's read it. A woman died in a medical blunder that saw her embalmed alive. Ekaterina Fedorovna was mistakenly poisoned during surgery after being administered a formalin drip which contains formaldehyde, the substance used to preserve corpses. The Russian woman was only meant to be given a saline solution and suffered convulsions and excruciating pain for 2 days before dying in 2018. Her family accused the doctors of pure murder after the 27-year-old was put on life support due to multiple organ failure. She died at the top hospital in Moscow, where she had been flown to from her home city of Ulyanovsk. No, that's not right. Ulyanovsk, if I'm saying that correctly, forgive me. Her mother, Galina Baryashkova, said, and husband Igor were with her when she came round from her surgery in her ward. Her legs were moving. She had convulsions. Her whole body was shaking. Her devastated mother said at the time of the incident in 2018. So here you can see this is another woman who probably for all intents and purposes thought she was too pretty to die, that the Most High wouldn't bring judgment on her or anything like that. But guess what, man? She ended up falling into the hands of the king of terrors. It says Ekaterina was only meant to be given a saline solution. Ekaterina was mistakenly poisoned after surgery after being administered a formalin drip. See, this is the thing, man. The Most High can take you out in so many ways. You could go into surgery you could go into the hospital for the most minimal of surgeries and not come out again. The Most High could have it to where something weird goes wrong and you end up dying in the hospital. Even if it's something simple, like maybe a routine procedure, the Most High can take you out in any number of ways, man. And this story is an example of that. It says, I put socks on her, then a robe, and then a blanket, but she was shivering to such an extent I can't even describe it. No doctor came to see her, although she was coming round from anesthetic. She suffered chronic stomach pains and vomiting. The bereaved mother said, "We had no idea it was formalin, and they knew very well that they washed up her body with a poison, and they did nothing to help. Now I understand that formalin was simply eroding her body from the inside. People who performed the surgery already knew that they'd infused something wrong. They needed to take some urgent measures, but they did nothing. She begged the doctors to help." Read on. She begged the doctors to... For God's sake, man. She begged the doctors to help, but they did nothing. But they told her to go home, cook chicken soup, and stop worrying. Oh no. Talk about dismissal. "I begged, please help her. She's my only child," said Galina. "I think they just wanted me to go away and to hide everything." Ekaterina was rushed to intensive care overnight as her condition deteriorated. For 14 hours after surgery, she was living with this formalin, and they did nothing, she said. So there's that woman there. Galina went in search of doctors and found them in a huddle discussing how to tell us that the terrible mistake had been made, but they didn't admit exactly what had happened. The female chief doctor told her a medical mistake took place. She's in a coma now. Her heart, lungs and liver have stopped working. She is attached to an artificial lung ventilator. Ekaterina was moved to the regional clinic where the doctor told Galina and Igor about the appalling blunder. It wasn't normal saline. They'd put formalin into her. They were informed medics used 52 drugs in a desperate attempt to save the woman. Then she was flown to the Moscow hospital but tragically died. "It's such a crime," she said. "I spoke to the criminal investigator and he told me it was negligence, but this is pure murder." Ekaterina was buried on the 7th of April 2018. So that's that story, and again, another cautionary tale for you women, man. When you think you're in good case, the Most High can bring a terrible judgment upon you.